Hello everyone, welcome to a new podcast episode. I'm your host Surya MS, and today we have a very special guest joining us who is here to share his strategies which help them to crack a dream package with Amazon. So let's get started. So I will start off with my question, which I would generally start off with everyone who I get a chance to converse with in this podcast, which is, since many great influencers believe that our childhood habits and whatever we do will have a significant role to play in later on in our life. So on similar note, I would love to know your relationship with technology while you were growing up, and how did that to what extent do you believe that shaped up in whatever you could achieve later on?
Yeah, so I was generally interested in technology and even electronics, to be honest. Till my 8th standard, I didn't have a computer. Till 10th standard, actually. 8th standard, I got a phone. So once I got a phone, I started, using the internet and those things. In 10th, when I got a computer, like I started, adding some modifications to some games. Like that time, we were playing GTA San Andreas. So for that, I started doing some custom editing and those kinds of things. So that's when I kind of realized that okay, I kind of like these things now. Yeah, that was completely different than what engineering is and what do you do as a software developer. But it was a good experience and the required spark, I would say. Yeah, so after that, it was kind of pretty straightforward. So even in my 11th and 12th, I took computer science. And the more I realized that, how it is, actually, I liked it even more. And so definitely, even during engineering, I took the same. And of course, even the job, right?
And growing up, did you have any specific goal which you were trying to chase?
I didn't have any goals as such. Yeah, I mean, getting into IIT was one of the goals. But yeah, that didn't quite happen. But yeah, at the end, I think things worked out pretty good for me.
Moving on, uh, how did you spend your first year of engineering? Were you someone who used to spend a lot of time in academics, or kind of found a balance between fun activities and academics as well?
Yeah, if you had taken science in 11th and 12th, then yeah, anything compared to that would be fun. Even third, fourth year was fun compared to that. So yeah, but yeah, first year was a lot more, freedom. Like placements was still quite far away, like 3 more years was there. And like you had already got into the college, so that stress wasn't there. There were no Sunday special classes, even classes like regular days were like only half days for us. So we had a very convenient timetable. And for me personally, it was my first time staying away from home, away from my family. So I would say it was a very good and life-changing experience. Wouldn't be an exaggeration. So yeah, first year was pretty good. Even the subjects, to be honest, were the like not the department subjects. Those were generic. Like we had chemistry and physics and civil and those things. So normally you won't feel interested. Like you know that this is not going to actually help you anymore. So yeah.
That is something which everyone can relate with as well in their first year of engineering. So moving on, I believe in engineering whatever we gain is something which we cannot completely rely on academics. So on similar note, what were some of the go-to resources for you to upskill yourself, and some of the advices which you want to give for people who are about to enter their engineering as well, in terms of some of the resources which will help them to upskill themselves significantly?
Yeah, my main resource I would say YouTube. Like unlike other branches, computer science is one thing which you can learn for completely free. Like there's so many YouTube channels that make great videos. My like Python, I learned most of it from a channel called Corey Shaper. He taught very well, and there's also Fireship, which was another good channel. So yeah, I can't recall all the channels on top of my head, but for pretty much anything that is computer science related, whether you want theoretical or whether you want even if you want to do DSA practice, there are YouTube channels for that, both Indian and Western or foreign channels. So that was my main source, I would say, and pretty happy to say that I didn't even spend like 1 rupee buying any course or anything. It was like all available for free. I guess that is the nature of this industry. Like even open source projects and everything are like very popular. It's all about learning and then giving back.
Yes, that's one of the big advantages of computer science, I believe, because I remember in my first year of engineering, there were many of workshops which I attended as well. So among them, the workshops which were conducted by IEEE costed around more than 1,000 rupees, but the workshops conducted by computer science clubs were free of cost, as it was software after all. So yeah, that is something which is one of the advantages of computer science, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I would say yeah, easy. Yeah, like you can still use simulators and stuff, so it's not completely but it's still again having an actual board Raspberry Pi, those things would help. But that would it's not as easy as computer science, but I would say you're better than something like mechanical where you can't simulate any. I mean, I'm not sure if you can simulate, but that is a very practical thing, right? So you can't just try to build a machine on the computer. Like you have to have the physical parts and those things. So yeah, that would be the other extreme end.
I was quite interested to know about your coding journey. So, were you someone who used to code every day or had some consistency to do it every now and then? And what were some of the platforms which you used to improve your coding level as well?
Yeah. So first year, like I mentioned, I didn't really do anything. Second year, I actually started on Hacker Rank. So things went really good. And at some point, I got a bit overconfident and I just stopped coding. So I think about 6 months or something, I got some Python gold badge, 5 star something was there. And I just saw that my peers were like, still very behind. So I thought, okay, I have done enough. Like I'm all interview set. So I stopped it. And that's kind of a mistake I made, to be honest. Because when sixth semester came, like all the way from third semester to sixth semester, I had not been doing any more coding. And sixth semester, when I saw my peers, I realized that they had gone much ahead than me. So I had done, strings and arrays and those things, and these books were now conquering DP problems and, much more complex ones. So that's when I started to, once again get back. Luckily, I realized it early on in the sixth semester, not too late. But yeah, I did, lose some time there. Luckily, yeah, Corona. I mean, not luckily, but yeah, Corona happened and we had a lot of free time. So I was able to, pick up some, like almost every day, like before placements season started, I was coding and coding and coding.
And also, I would love to know how did you tackle dynamic programming and competitive programming as well, and what were some of the strategies which you want people to follow based on your experience who are about to start their competitive programming journey.
It's like I would say once you get a knack for it, it's kind of similar. I mean, you just need to like specifically DP, right? You need to get that idea of how to build up the solution, and that is all. Once you know that framework, like how to approach a DP problem, then pretty much all of them are same. It's just they are worded in a different way, and conditions might be slightly different. But yeah, but there is bit or definitely some learning curve. You can't just do one problem and be that you know it. You have to do a bunch of problems and get some idea. And it also depends on how good you're able to visualize it. Like when you say store all these values in a 2D array or 3D array, you need to kind of be able to understand how that is helping and get that intuitive idea on how things are working. So that again depends from person to person, but once you conquer that learning curve, I think it gets very easy.
That was pretty informative, I believe. And moving on, so what were some of the takeaways of being part of LCC in terms of your knowledge gaining curve?
Well, there's plenty of things I would like to talk about, but if I have to talk just one specific data point for that, my first round of interview for Amazon, I got it only because I was good at Linux. So the interview was not going that great, but at one point I kind of like answered some questions regarding Linux, and that was like a turning point. So the interviewer, he decided to ask more and more Linux questions, and I answered as much as I could. And at the end, like he was very happy. So it was a complete U-turn, and yeah, that is, I think one enough. One example should be enough to see how important Linux is for this one. And Linux Campus Club, of course, it's not just about Linux; it's also about open source and these things. But that's the idea.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear, but on a similar note, I was very curious to know why Linux is given so much importance by developers. Well, I do understand that it is open source and developers can get a feel of how things are built, but is that the only reason why Linux is preferred over Windows by developers, or are there any reasons which I should be knowing?
So firstly, Linux is something which is used in servers and everything. Like if you wanted to use, a licensed one like Microsoft Windows, there are Windows servers, but it's going to be pretty expensive to maintain it. So everywhere it will be, Linux based. Secondly, whenever you work with servers, you have to work on a terminal. You can't get a graphical user interface. There won't be icons for you to click or mouse to move. It's all just through commands. You have to SSH into that, create folders, compile, build whatever. All that would be done through terminal. And as it stands today, Windows is not so great when it comes to terminals. I mean, yeah, the last time I saw they had PowerShell, so that was, I would say, much needed improvement over the command prompt, but it's still quite behind full-fledged Linux terminal. And when I say Linux, it's not just Linux, even any Unix also, like even Mac OS is pretty good. It also has the same features. It's just that Mac devices are a little bit more on the expensive side. Like I mean, now the M1 MacBooks, I think even the cheapest one is around 90K, whereas Linux you can get it on a 30K machine. So that is another reason why most students would be I like happy with the Linux machine.
Yeah, that was quite insightful. And moving on to your interview journey, so what do you think were some of the factors which you want to attribute your success of cracking a dream package for? And on a similar note, what are some of the strategies you want to advise for people who are aspiring to do so as well?
Yeah, so first of all, placements, there is a fair bit of luck involved. It's not like you just, I mean, sometimes it just happens, right? You put all your efforts, but still it does not work out. Sometimes you might also feel that somebody who did not deserve it might have got something good. So that is something which is not in our control. We have to acknowledge that. And I personally would say I did have luck on my side when I got this, because before I interviewed for Amazon, there were 12 other companies which I had actually written the test for. A few of them I actually managed to go through the first round and go to the interview, but in others I have not even cleared the test. So things happen. So that is one factor of it. The other factor is, of course, you need to be, good with your fundamentals. You need to know the data structures and algorithms. That is what they're going to ask, and you need to more be able to show that you would be a good team player, and also that you're interested in, learning. At least that is one of the cultures that we follow at Amazon, where it's fine if you don't know a lot of things, but you should have that, interest to learn and grow. So yeah.
That was pretty informative. And moving on, I have a very interesting question for you. So, suppose we can assume you were not required to go to engineering college and you had all the 4 years with you. So, what were the strategies which you would have adopted in that case, knowing that all the resources to upskill and gain knowledge are available for free online? And what were some of the alternative path which you would have chosen, or would you have chosen the same path of going into engineering and then getting your job?
So I would say college academics purely, if you see, yeah, it's not that up to date, but there is still something which college offers that is, I think, very important, which is the networking. So as part of when you go to college, that's when you actually get to meet your seniors. That's when you get to see what other folks are doing, and you can, kind of benchmark yourself and improve upon it. And again, placements is something like as a fresher, it's easy. I mean, it's not easy to get an interview opportunity, let alone get a job. And because they ask you for career experience, but to get a career experience, you need a job. But for a job, again, like it keeps cycling around. So if you get into a good college, that is definitely one thing. So I think in our college we had almost 200 companies coming. So I mean, as long as you're not on the bottom 25% or something, you should be able to get some decent job so that you can build some experience, so you have that safety net kind of a thing. So I believe college is very important, not in academics perspective. That is a bit outdated, the curriculum that they teach, I feel. But could I have reached this point without college if I had, studied on my own? I think not.
Yes, I believe that as well. Networking is something which can make our life a lot simpler. And yeah, moving on. So, can you walk us through your interview process?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years at this point, so I don't have a lot of details on it. But I have the high level details. Basically, I had 2 rounds. So I was actually interviewing for a 6 month internship. And for 6 month internship, Amazon standard is to have 2 rounds of interview. Plus, if they are, kind of on the edge, whether to hire or not, they will have a third round of interview. So I remember in our college, everybody had only 2 rounds. Nobody went for the third round. And even before that, we actually had a written test. So in that written test, they asked questions on various topics. There was one programming question, and then there were multiple theoretical questions, MCQs. So once those were done, this was one thing which I mean, they had a few job profiles. They did not have SD job profile for our college. They had testing, support, system dev, and a couple of others, I believe. And we actually did not get to choose that. I'm not sure why, but based on our initial written round, they decided to assign us a particular role, and interview was for that. So I got a system development engineer role. So yeah, that sounded good. So I went ahead, did my 2 rounds, and yeah, both rounds were technical. There were no managerial rounds. There were a few questions asked within that itself, but no dedicated managerial round as such. So yeah, once that was done, that was a process over 2 days. So we had one interview per day. So that happened to 2 days, and it was completely virtual at that time. I think that was near the second wave of COVID, I think. So yeah. So,
Yeah, that was pretty informative. And would you like to share how would you spend your day?
right now it's work from home, so I try to get started early in the morning, and have 1 4 hour stretch where I continuously work. And then in the afternoon, there are some meetings, and I try to log off early on. So that's the ideal goals. Of course, things will keep going up and down. Sometimes I might wake up late, or sometimes some extra thing might come up, and I might stay up late. So those things happen. So yeah, work from office would be also, I guess, should be similar to this. Although last time it was more of a first time office for me, so I spent a lot of time going around talking to people, and then realized that I had not done any work, so that was also there. But yeah,
Okay, yeah. And you did mention that you were uh, given a system developer engineer role in your internship, I believe. So, can you emphasize a bit more about that?
yeah. So system development engineer, again, like role descriptions differ from company to companies. So what it is here might not be the same in other company, and vice versa. And this particular role within Amazon itself, it varied from team to team. So I have seen teams where system dev engineers were same as support engineers. I have seen teams where they were same as SDEs. So I would say you can think of it as a middle ground, a bridge from support engineer to dev. So you do get to do some operation side of things, like stress test servers and scale the capacity, for the upcoming like let's say Diwali sale is there, so there'll be more people buying things, so there'll be more internet traffic coming in, so you have to handle that. Those kinds of things are there. There's also the actual work side of thing. I mean the coding side of things where you develop these automation softwares and those kinds of things. So it's a very flexible role. Even within Amazon, it has quite a different meaning depending on what team you are in.
And I was curious to know how is it different from your current role, which is software development engineer, I believe, in Amazon.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, like SysDev is a flexible one. In the current team I am in, it was similar to software development engineer itself. So even though I have been recently officially changed my role to software dev, I was unofficially working as a software dev all along. So work-wise, there is no real difference. It's just the title. And the reason I officially changed that is because you do get slightly better salary. So that's the only reason.
Okay, that was pretty insightful. And I was curious to know how often does one get a hike in their salary in Amazon?
So not just Amazon, I think it's common across all companies, so common across the industry, which is you get a hike in the beginning of the financial year, which would be in India, that would be April. Yeah, I had a hike last April, so coming April again, there should be another hike. So it's a yearly thing. And usually the hike would be somewhere around 5 to 10%. But you might have read the news that Amazon, just to have that inflation, and they had some adjustments regarding inflation and those things. So last time the hike was around 40%, but that was a one-time thing. Usually it's just 5 to 10%.
And what opportunities does one have for employees who are working at Amazon to work in abroad? Is it something which we can choose on our own, or is it something which we will be asked to?
Yeah, so Amazon is one of company known for giving you opportunities to travel abroad and settle there. So as a fresher who is joining, you would be considered as a level 4 engineer, so you would not be eligible for that. But after a couple of years, you get promoted to level 5. And once you complete 1 year as a level 5 engineer, you would be eligible for an international transfer. And the process for that is pretty simple. You can just reach out to any team that you might have worked with in the country that you want. Or you could also randomly reach out to the managers of those abroad teams and ask them. And if they do have an opening, they would like to, their engineers might talk to you to see what's your. It's basically a very informal interview. There won't be any questions asked. I mean, technical questions, just to know you, and then the process starts. And even the visa and everything, I believe Amazon would be providing that to you. I mean, you have to go and do the process, but any costs along the way, that would be covered by Amazon. Relocation, like from here to whichever country you're going, even that would be reimbursed by Amazon. So yeah, I would say for international transfers, it's a very good company.
Okay, I have some rapid fire questions to you, so you can tell whatever comes to your mind as quickly as possible. So here goes the first one. So which one do you pick between speed and perfection?
Perfection.
Okay, and how much do you think luck has played a role in whatever you could achieve?
I would say pretty a lot.
Okay, that's understandable. And which one do you pick between Windows and Ubuntu?
Ubuntu.
Okay, and one of the most expensive purchases which you have made till now?
Uh, that would have to be my phone, I guess. It's a Pixel 3a. I paid around 30K. Yeah.
Okay, and one last one. Given an opportunity to go back in time, is there anything that is there which of the phases which you would like to go back, and what are the things you would love to change as well?
I would like to, I mean, there is no point as such. I think things have gone good the way it is. Whatever things did not go right, I have learned from them. and whatever things went right, obviously it's nice. So no changes as such. Anytime works. I mean, if I want to live longer, I would like to obviously go back all the way to the day one.
Okay. So on that note, we have reached the end of the conversation. Thank you for being so honest in whatever you could share. I did hope it inspired people who are about to enter their engineering and have higher aspirations to achieve. So thank you again, and all the best for your future endeavors.
Sure, man. Thanks.